The question of could God create a stone so heavy that even he could not lift it, or the omnipotence paradox, is a classic philosophical argument which calls into question the concept of omnipotence, which is the attribute of being all-powerful. The paradox attempts to challenge the validity of an omnipotent being, God, by creating a scenario that seems to defy its powers. The exact origins of this paradox are difficult to trace, as similar questions have been posed by thinkers throughout history. It is often associated with medieval theologians and philosophers who pondered the nature of God's omnipotence. There are many ways to phrase this paradox, but it goes something like this. God is asked to create a stone so heavy that he could not lift it. If God can create such a stone, but cannot lift it, then there would be something that God cannot do, suggesting a limit to his omnipotence. On the other hand, if God can lift a stone, then it would imply that God is incapable of creating a stone he cannot lift, disproving the idea that God is omnipotent. Theoretically, this is a great thought experiment, but if we assume that God is real and we were to attempt this in reality, it simply wouldn't be possible, as there is no specification where the stone would be placed. If it were to be placed in our universe, an object of infinite mass and density would collapse the entire universe in an infinitely small amount of time, due to an infinite gravitational pull. Eliminating the universe would destroy the concept of space, time, and matter, making it impossible for a place to put the stone, a time for the stone to exist, and no matter for the stone to exist from. Unless God somehow changes the properties of our universe, this test couldn't possibly take place. Therefore, this test has to take part outside of our universe, a theoretical area where the stone could exist to put God's omnipotence to the test. Okay, but even if the stone were to be placed outside of our universe, it still seems as if though this paradox would still disprove the idea of an omnipotent, all-powerful being being even a possibility, as it uses the being's omnipotence to counter its own omnipotence. Therefore, omnipotence can't be a thing. Right, but if the goal of the argument is to disprove the idea of an omnipotent being able to exist, then I grant that there is no way around this paradox. But if the argument's goal is to disprove God as a possibility, then it fails miserably. Here is why. The flaw of this paradox trying to disprove God is that the paradox assumes that God only possesses one characteristic, omnipotence. Or another way to put it, God is omnipotence and omnipotence is God. Let me explain. A perfect being, which is the definition of God, would have to be maximally great in every regard. A being would not deserve the title of God if it was just omnipotent. Thus, God needs to be omnipotent, omnipresent, timeless, spaceless, immaterial, all-knowing, and morally perfect, to name just a few more characteristics. If this being we are asking to lift the stone really is God, then it will be omnipresent and timeless as well. Just the right characteristics that would be needed to not be able to lift and lift the stone at the same time. Confused? God can create the stone because he is omnipotent, be unable to lift the stone because he is omnipotent enough to create such an object, be able to lift the stone because it is omnipresent and timeless, allowing itself to create a reality outside of the area where it is currently trying to lift the stone, at a time when the stone didn't exist, and lift the entire reality, itself and the stone, all at the same time. God being unable to lift the stone and able to lift it at the very same time. Now, I don't think my counter-argument is exactly the same as the person I got it from, But do go and check it out. It's linked down in the description. If you enjoy these types of videos, consider subscribing. The goal of my channel will be nothing less than to once and for all end the debate on, does God exist? Thank you very much.